Is the keto diet right for you? Today I'm going to explain the ideal genetics for a keto-based nutrition approach. Hi, I'm Alex Hall, the DNA fat loss coach, and if you're new here, appreciate you coming along. Do be sure to like the video, comment your thoughts below, and of course subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. So today we're going to be discussing the keto diet and the ideal genetics and the variety of genetic responses that we can have to different fats that align well or don't align well at all with the keto diet. Now, before we jump into those, I just want to be totally clear. I am diet agnostic, okay? There's no diet that I particularly follow. I never recommend certain diets for certain individuals. However, I just want to be clear and highlight this as an example that based on your genetics, there are certain ways of eating, and you could say diets that you are more suited to than others. And there are some people who maybe certain diets are not the best option for them, again, based on their genetics. So today I want to highlight some examples, some insights from a DNA test. I've compiled some example results with ideal genetics, so-so genetics, and not very good genetics for the keto-based way of eating. Another point I'll just say on the keto diet, I don't eat like that myself. I do like to have more fat in the diet, in the nutrition approach, than say carbohydrates. I'm relatively moderate protein, mid to low carb, and relatively high fat. That's the way that I prefer to eat. However, I do not restrict carbs in any way. I'm not strict on my sort of consumption. I don't measure anything, so I can't say that I'm on a keto-based diet. That's just not the way that I'm doing things right now. I think some people have great success with the keto diet. However, I will say, and I want to highlight that my belief is that to continue to have success with a keto-based way of eating, you need to fit it sustainably into your lifestyle. Okay, it can't just be something that you do for say 6 weeks every time you want to lose some weight, because otherwise you're going to spend your whole life yo-yoing. And believe me, I've experienced that with kind of myself. I've had a bit of experience with keto in the past, but lots and lots of my clients have done, they've tried keto, lost a lot of weight very quickly, then they come off it, reintroduce carbs, they gain a lot of weight very, very quickly, then they go back on keto, drop a lot of weight, and then it's just this yo-yo that goes on for years. Okay, so with that aside, let's properly get into the detail today. So today I'm going to be breaking down the two genetic responses that are kind of responsible, or that we can look at to give us an indication as to whether a keto-based way of eating is something that we're genetically aligned with or something that we're not genetically aligned with. Okay, I think there's a huge lifestyle factor to this. I'm not saying whether keto is good for you, whether keto is bad for you, right? Because your lifestyle, the way you live your life, just might not align with a keto-based way of eating. Okay, so the genetic element to this is part of the puzzle piece. Okay, but the other part is your lifestyle, so you know that better than me. Okay, just want to highlight the two genetic responses, which are your response to saturated fat, so the fat in animal foods, in dairy, and in coconut, these sort of sources, and then unsaturated fat, okay, typically from plants, vegetable oils, olives, fish, these sorts of things. Okay, we have unsaturated and we have saturated fat, and based on our genetic variations, tiny little variations between you and I, should we say, you can have a variety of responses, okay, to both saturated fat and unsaturated fat, and it's based on your results and how your body responds to these two types of fat, because it can be quite different. That is what will determine how genetically optimal it is to opt for something like a keto plan versus something where perhaps you're actually not eating so much fat, maybe eating a few more carbs, or maybe just going a bit more of a plant-based way of eating, for example. So the goal here is to choose something, a dietary approach, that makes sustainable fat loss, living longer, sustainable energy and vitality as easy and as simple as possible. So if you have a very positive genetic response to these different sorts of fats, and again, they are both different, so you may have a positive response to one, not so much of the other, but ideally if you have a positive response to both, then this can make a keto or something like a keto, a higher fat diet, much easier, much simpler, much more enjoyable for you. Okay, so that's the goal here, just to make things as easy and simple as possible. So ideally what we want is a very positive or beneficial response, as you can see on the screen here, for unsaturated fats, and then a normal or a beneficial response to saturated fats, again as you can see here on the screen. So you've got two variables, okay, saturated and unsaturated, and they can take multiple values each. Okay, so if we consider those who have a beneficial response to unsaturated fat and a normal or beneficial response to saturated fat as well, we're really honing things down. Okay, we're really reducing the number of people. Okay, so honestly, I don't think there's that many people that are very genetically suited towards keto. I'm talking probably 10%, if even fewer. Okay, because the likelihood is you're going to have maybe a positive response to one, but then a reduced benefit or a normal or a poor response to the other. Okay, now you could say, oh, okay, well, I could still do a keto approach, right? Let's say I have a positive unsaturated fat response and a poor saturated fat response. Okay, those are results that I have, as you can see on the screen now. Now, as I said, a higher fat diet, not keto, but higher fat. And the way that I do it is I just manage my saturated fat. So I'm eating leaner meats, I'm eating less dairy. I've pretty much stripped out most of the coconut, because that was a big part of my life that was causing, I don't want to say challenges, but it was making it much harder for me to get and stay lean. And I've upped things like olive oil. I've really doubled down on omega-3s. There's more on that in another video. And just really healthy plant-based sources and kind of really focusing on for my fat. Okay, so I am eating a higher fat, but actually it's really low in these saturated fats, which I found for me very beneficial. Some people may go the other way. Okay, they may, okay, aside from the omega-3s, these sort of essential fatty acids that you need, maybe they're not consuming so much olive oil. Maybe their body, there's a reduced benefit. You know, they are very calorie dense. That is something to be aware of. Okay, at the end of the day, calories in, calories out, it is a huge factor for long-term weight management. But maybe you're eating grass-fed beef, right? You're having high-quality organic butter, and you're having, you know, virgin cold-pressed coconut oil. Right? These are really healthy, nutritious fat sources. Okay, so perhaps you go the other way. You reduce the intake of some of the unsaturated and actually increase the amount of these kind of healthy, nutritious sources of saturated fat. Just a caveat here, you know, most farmed meat that's been fed, say, corn or soy, these sorts of things, that's not the quality of saturated fat that you want to be getting in. Okay, so if you are going to be having fatty cuts of meat, I really want to clarify, try and get the best quality source possible. Okay, ideally grass-fed, grass-finished. And when it comes to butter, again, you want grass-fed, grass-finished. Consider what the animal has eaten. Okay, because you're going to eat the animal or parts of, you know, via its milk or, you know, the actual cuts of meat. So consider what that's actually made of. And what that's made of is what it's been eating day to day. Has it been eating grass? Has it been roaming around? Or has it been eating, you know, has it been injected with hormones and been eating corn from a GMO field, right? These are the kind of considerations to bear in mind when it comes to saturated fat a little bit more. Of course, quality across the board, super important. I always want to be clear that I think quality of food is more important than quantity of food for the most part, but really anywhere you can improve your quality, you're going to reap the rewards. And then the option where keto really is just not suitable for you is if you have a reduced benefit, or even worse, of unsaturated fats, and then a poor response, or even very poor response for saturated fats. Okay, basically body's like, apart from the essential stuff like a little bit of omega-3s, okay, you can go quite decent with the omega-3s, but some good quality omega-3s and a couple of other bits, maybe a handful of nuts or seeds every day. I would stick to maybe healthy carb and protein sources, and ideally from a plant-based source I think is optimal. So things like legumes, beans, pulses, lentils, these sorts of foods are going to be very satisfying, but also not put you in a position where you're going to store that excess energy as fat. Okay, as much. Okay, so our genetic tendencies increase the propensity, the likelihood of that being stored as fat. So if fat is very likely to be stored as fat based on your genes, maybe you want to reduce and maybe have a positive response to, say, carbs or even protein. You kind of double down on those, or just go with lots of foods that perhaps have less caloric density. Again, those plant-based foods, very low in calories typically, perhaps avocado aside, perhaps coconut aside, right? But very, very satisfying, right? Full of fiber, full of water, full of amazing nutrients. Hopefully that makes sense. If you do want to do a DNA test, check out the links below in the comments. Connect with me on LinkedIn, that's the best place. That's where I am most days, to be honest. Just message me on there. Let's have a chat and let's sort something out for you. Thank you so much for watching the video. Again, let me know your thoughts below in the comments, and hit that bell icon and subscribe, and of course like the video if you haven't already. Thank you very much, and I'll speak with you soon.